Welcome to another episode of the Roots Podcast. I am your host, Sean Pitcher. You can find me on IG at Sean_tactical RD. Today's guest we have on is Jason Winn. He has been the founder and president of Bonk Breaker for the last 18 years. He has one of the most delicious PB&J bars in the world, and he has a brand new choo-choo cart, which we'll also talk about. That's at some of our major schools. But Jason, appreciate you for taking the time today and coming on from sunshiny California.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we're finally getting some sunshine. It hasn't been sunshiny California a whole lot this year so far. So
I'm just shooting some rays from Alabama towards you.
Alabama. Don't take them. Take all of them. We'll take all of them. No, it's good to be on the podcast. I appreciate it. And yeah, man, I'm going back a few years ago when we first connected when you were at IMG. And we see each other at CPSDA, and that's about it. So it's good to see your face.
Yeah, we've been connected at CPSA for a long time now. So it's good to get connected, talk some shop, and get down to the roots of Bonk Breaker. So who is Jason Winn behind the scenes?
Man, good question. I haven't thought about that in a while. Well, first, I'm a dad of three amazing kids. Yeah, a daughter 13, daughter 10, almost 11, and a boy 8. So I just turned 9, boy 9. I'm a husband. I'm a dog owner. 2 Australian Shepherds. We just got a new one, a new puppy, which is probably the last thing we needed because they're tough puppies, but couldn't resist them, man. An athlete, still, hanging on to that one. Always an athlete, and we'll always hold on to the athlete's mindset, which is, I think, most important for all athletes, right? Love the outdoors. Love the ocean. Love nutrition. I mean, should have got that one in a little earlier. But yeah, just geeky. Always been geeky about. I mean, and not to your level, right? All your colleagues, but I love fascinated with it about good nutrition and what works with what the hell your body actually knows what to do with and what it doesn't, and what's snake oil and what actually works and all that. So yeah, I'm just curious, man. I'm a curious guy.
So you mentioned athlete. What kind of athletic events have you done in the past? Has it been endurance? Has it been strength? Has it been you were within a specific sport a majority of your life?
Grew up playing pretty much everything, right? Just playing with the season. And then, sort of locked in football like my junior year of high school, and was playing baseball and then got and locked in football and then played. And then I went to college and went to Texas Tech University as a quarterback under rest his soul, Mike Leach. That was his first recruiting class over there. And then when I was done playing, done with ball in college, it was like, I was trying to find a way, to stay an athlete, right? I think we all struggle with that transition when you're not told to be somewhere every day at a certain time, told where you have to be, do this, do that, and you're on your own now, and you have to kind of make your own schedule. I was like, shit, man, I've got to find a way to stay an athlete. And I was, bartending at the time and all, but I get up early and start to run. And I got a bike. I mean, I was definitely inspired by the Lance Armstrong movement, and so got a road bike and then got into triathlon. I was like, I'm gonna jump into triathlon. So I got in my first sprint triathlon. And man, I almost drowned, came out, finished it, and then it was like, man, I got the bug, I'm gonna do an Ironman. And 6 months later, I trained for that obviously a lot, and then probably overtrained, and then did an Ironman. That's what inspired during that process. It was like that was a moment where it inspired, Bonk Breaker to be born.
Really? So was it you were like having moments in time during those triathlons or those endurance events where like you were, I guess, quote unquote, no pun intended, bonking?
Yeah.
And you were like, how do I figure out how to overcome these kind of lulls in my training, in my event times?
Yeah. And even more so than that, it was just like, man, we just, we just want something to just want to be able to enjoy something. I mean, as athletes, endurance athletes, you sacrifice so much, right? And the training and the preparation, the food, the diet, all that. And it was just like, we just want to be able to enjoy something. I was like, it was mile, whatever, 40 something on the bike. And it was a Cliff Bar event. And I'm just like reaching and they're ripping a bite
Those
off.
Cliff Bars are like rocks. We
Reach, chewing and reach for the water bottle. The jaws are burning. You're trying to wash down. You get so frustrated. And there's like and I'm a peanut butter and jelly junkie, always have been, right? And on the marathon, the aid stations, every aid station was cut up peanut butter and jelly sandwiches there. And I was like, man, like that, it's the perfect fuel, right? We all grew up on it. It's a culture code in this country. And I was like, and nobody. So after looking back on that race, it's like there's nobody who's done that. Like it was at times like Power Bar, Cliff Bar, Lower Bar, all that. It wasn't as saturated as now, but like nobody's doing peanut butter and jelly. And so the idea was for the bar was to take the best of both of the best nutrition products in sort of endurance sports at the time, right? You have a gel. And then you have a solid bar, right? For sustained energy. Gel for quick energy, bar for sustained energy. Take the best of both worlds and combine into one product, right? That way you get your quick energy and your sustained energy, your good fats, carbohydrates, proteins in the same product. The bar would be moist. You could actually get it down. And it's like the light bulb went off. Like PB&J. The fruit, the jam is the quick energy, right? And you have so that was it. And then it took a lot of it took a mess in my mom's apartment kitchen at the time. I was bartending and go over there once a week and work it up. My mom's like, "Oh, if you're going to do this, let me handle this. You're making a mess of my place." And just once you get the recipe down, so that was it. And then so that's kind of where it was sort of born, that idea for the PB&J.
It's hilarious. I talked to a dietitian the other day. I'm like, man, we've slung so many PB&J sandwiches in our day, and it's almost like Uncrustables has taken over because it's just so convenient and so easy to just, hey, here's an Uncrustable. The cost benefit ratio of me having to spend an hour to 2 hours to go and make like a PB&J, it's like I could just give you that, or you could have a PB&J Bonk Breaker bar.
Yep.
Either one.
Unfortunately, we're not as inexpensive as Uncrustables, but you gotta, it's a different process, different quality of ingredients, but still it's the same, the same idea. It's like PB&J, man. You can't, unless you have a peanut allergy, right? You're good to go. So that's where, it all started. And then it was, first 5 years of that I was just, bartending and at nights and then showing up to race events, triathlon, cycling crits, and every weekend morning and just giving away, and we pick up, retailers here and there, but then, eventually we got into team sports, which is rad. And that's more, close to home. So
how do you compete in a world where there's so many types of bars? You know what I'm saying? It just seems like you go into the grocery store and Publix or Walmart or whatever the main place is, it's just a whole, aisle of bars.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you guys continue to keep yourself kind of on top or ahead of that curve when there's just so many options for the consumer?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And I mean, the thing is, so we're still to stay like the only peanut butter and jelly bar. Like there's been a number of companies who tried to knock it off, but it just didn't work, right? But we've sustained, over time, we've held on to. So differentiating that, of course, that was it. But it's hard. Yeah, it's a tough one because and then you get the trends, right? Then all of a sudden, paleo comes on the scene, and then keto and this, and it's just like, all right, so the trends go up, and then you get brands who just skyrocket, and then you feel like you've been kicked in the gut, and you're like, all right, just hang in there. It's a long road. Just hang in, stay true to what we do. Don't go chasing diet trends and all that shit. And so we did, but so but what really has catapulted us more recently is our chews. That's where we've really kind of yeah, that's where we're killing our PB&Js, but our chews as well.
Is it like a taste, a texture? Like let's make, because I've had a lot of chews in my days from a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
And athletes especially, like I think the biggest thing all of us can agree on is if it's the color, it's the taste, it's the texture, it's the packaging.
Mhm.
You know, some of these athletes just identify with particular things, and if they like it, and especially if it's a leader on the team,
Yeah.
yo, you got to try this, and then it could just be viral in 2 seconds. Especially if you see them using it on a lot of these stages that some of these athletes are now put on with our different media outlets.
Yeah. So yeah, what's different? So a big one, which we really needed to nail down was, and back to the like endurance side. So when I was first like, let's take it back to when I first had shoes, right? And it was like in 2009. I was doing one of the gnarliest races I've been involved with great company, but it's called Race Across America, RAM. It's called, you bike race 24 hours around the clock. You're on a team. We had a 4-man team with Laird Hamilton, Don Wildman, who was like 78 at the time, but just a complete badass. He was the founder of Bally's Fitness Clubs. And then Tim Comerford, who's the bass player for Rage Against the Machine. So the four of us, we did run that race, and it was a race across America. And we were using I think it was Cliff Blocks at the time. That was the first introduction to, and it was like, you're just constantly digging at your teeth.
It's just like
Jammed up
little
there.
fruit snack pieces in the back of your mouth.
Really, you're riding and you're just trying to like really dig, and I know I've heard stories of people losing crowns, but because they jammed up there. But the whole thing was like it's annoying, it's obnoxious, right? And but the most important part is if it's jammed up in your teeth, it's not doing the job. It's not providing fuel for your body, right? So that was the biggest. And going back when we finally eventually, created chews, it was that idea of like, okay, we got to get to it where they don't jam up in your teeth. So that was part of the formulation, right? And then another, of course, colors, right? The coloring, it's got to come from like what we do now. It comes from beet, spirulina. Like our green apple is incredible. We use spirulina for it.
Oh wow.
It's incredible. So, and then turmeric for orange. So that's a big part of it. And then, of course, a sufficient amount of electrolytes and then 100% vitamin C just for recovering immune.
Do you see a lot more companies, or even for yourself, like are shifting to more of these like natural options, like a spirulina, like a turmeric, to like bring up those colors instead of like, let's say, some sports product brands where it's like I'm using blue 40 or red
Yeah.
whatever. Like, are you seeing a big shift and moving towards those kind of other alternative options?
Well, I mean, some do. It's still pretty. I mean, it's still pretty. It's rare still to see that. I mean, most gummy manufacturers will still use an artificial color because they want they want that coloring to pop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna use a red 40 or a blue 1 or a green 5 or whatever it is, or yellow 5, and so and so many people overlook that. But and then there's another part of it that's a lot of gummies that will be gelatin based, right? So ours are pectin. It's a fruit pectin based, so they are vegan as well. And so we have a few different things going there for us that differentiate us as well.
I like the one thing you said earlier is you guys are staying true to what you do. And I just had Sean Harrington, who was on Notemeal, and he kind of had a very similar approach where he's like, there's all these different trends that are going on, and that's cool. He goes, but like, this is our product and this is what we do, and like this is what is our tried and true.
Yeah.
He's like, if we just jumped on all these trends all the time, he's like, and I can still remember one of my professors at Ole Miss. She would say, "Yep, here's this diet. It'll be here for a year, and then it'll disappear and come back in 5 years, and someone will recycle it and rebrand it and throw it out as something brand new, and then we're just going on that like ride again of the
Yeah.
same old stuff, just brought back up because no one thought about it again, but now all of a sudden it's on the scene."
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, you nailed it. It's like so much of it is just which it frustrated me early on when other brands would just all of a sudden just came up out of nowhere and then boom, skyrocketed, right? And they would get acquired by Kellogg's or somebody, but it was all about branding, the packaging, right? And for us, it was like we had a went through a branding exercise when I was just starting it and downgraded the cool logo that connected, but never put the $100,000 into a branding agency, all that stuff. It was the focus was there was an obsession about what is inside the package, right? Not what's on the outside of the package, what was inside the package. And I mean, sleepless nights, in those earlier years, was like, we're supplying these athletes, right? Whether it's Ironman athletes, whether it was Tom Brady, we supplied the Patriots from early on, right? It's like, I always use the analogy, right? Everybody knows how well Tom, prepares for every season, every game, every offseason, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
If no matter how well he prepares, there's so many athletes that prepare like him, but no matter how well he prepares, if he can wear an Under Armour cleat or a Nike cleat on game day, will it change his performance? Probably not. But if he puts the wrong fuel in his body on game day, it could drastically affect his performance, right? And so that's the thing that's always haunted me and still does to this day, is like, we can't mess around with and put, make a priority of the packaging and the messaging, make that the priority and sacrifice what goes in the package. Because what you said earlier is like, there are plenty of companies, I don't want to name the brands, but you probably know that have just used a same exact formula. Go to these manufacturers, give me this formula, whatever we want, these macros and whatever date-based bar, and then we're going to hire a kick-ass design team, and they're going to make something really special and beautiful, and then that's what we're going
to. Well, that's the thing, is your high-level athletes or your high-level practitioners eventually are going to know, whether it's looking at the ingredients or whether it's utilizing the product, if it's making them feel good or not, and if it's working to help improve the performance or sustain the performance. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you could get a big surge because everyone sees it on social media and just one person throws it up and says they're using it. But like, how long that surge is going to last is going to be the question mark. Like, can you sustain that surge? Can you sustain that success? Or is there going to be an overnight one and done? And then in a year, it's like, now you're plummeting because everyone's really finding out the product isn't up to snuff like you said it was, or it appeared it was.
Right. Well, and it's real. Like, for example, you take kids, right? Kids are a great example. People say, oh, sugar ingredients or don't matter, whatever, sugar, what type of sugar doesn't matter. It's like, I mean, you know better than I would. You can tell me I'm full of it, but it's like, with my kids specifically, we supply all my kids' club soccer teams and the girls' dance teams, right? If they eat something it's candy, right? Let's say it's corn syrup and Red 40. Watch them bounce off the walls. Can't pay attention. Can't sit still. Gone, and then they crash hard. Then we give them our chews, right? And you don't see that effect, that boom, shot up, and then crash down. It's clear as day, and that's when I was like, I mean, that right there tells it all. So that's what's in, obviously what's in the inside the package. What's inside the package ingredients is what we've always, to reiterate, I'm really obsessed about.
Yeah. Now I know Bonk Breaker under a company called Elite, and I know you guys also have Salt Stick. So did that develop after Bonk Breaker? Is that something that kind of complements the products you guys use? I saw it the last CPSDA, but I didn't ask a ton of questions on it. So I think that'd be kind of interesting to discuss how that kind of all incorporates.
Yeah, no, Salt Stick. No, thanks for asking. I mean, we're sister brands now. We're under the same umbrella, company umbrella now. And so we are now under the umbrella of Elite, is a private equity group, and then and Salt Stick was acquired by them before us, and then we joined them back in the fall of 21. Just more resources, more help, and going through that COVID phase, it was hard on a lot of brands, especially smaller brands, is what we were. So it was manufacturers were going down, and it was just turbulent, at the time. So coming into it's a great team, great people, great team, and so we're basically sister brands. We operate together under the same roof, and it's an incredible electrolyte supplement company. So, and they do some, which is, the products on Fire, they're called fast chews, right? And they're like, it's more like a sweet tart type of an electrolyte chew, hard chew, and like very low sugar, very different from Bonk, and we're more energy, carbohydrates and all, and salt stick is all electrolyte based, for quick absorption. And then they're caps. They have electrolyte buffered electrolyte capsules, which are killer. Those are killer.
I've seen a lot of different, like, I guess, forms of electrolytes. You got powders, you got caps. I've also seen a newer company come out that has electrolytes that are supposed to lingually absorb underneath the tongue. So I guess maybe from your experience in these types of products, like, what have you found have been the easiest, best digestible, low GI distress, or providing us the appropriate amount that the athlete's going to be able to utilize? Like, what have you seen as the best form in that sense?
Yeah, so the idea behind this salt stick, the fast chews, the chewable tablets, is they absorb quicker. We're running through research about and doing the studies on that to see how much faster, 3 to 4 times faster than if you were to digest them, because they go absorb through mucosal lines, right? So that's the idea there. It's pleasant, it's easy to get down, and it's enjoyable, which has a lot to do with it.
I think that's a key thing, especially with electrolytes. It could be super salty, and it's like, if the flavor and the taste or a little bit of sweetness is out there, it's like you could throw some people off real quick and be like, I don't know, I don't want to drink the ocean, but
right, exactly. No matter how good it is for you, it's gotta taste good, right? That's what it comes down to. You gotta, especially in your role with athletes and younger kids in high school, college, even young professional athletes. You got to get them to where they want to grab it, And so those are great. But the capsules it's a bigger load. Those things when your body's being stressed, whether it's not big endurance event or heavy training, and those things they're incredible, man. Yeah,
right.
So you get a bigger load from them.
One question I like to ask a lot of food companies is, where you guys, or how do you guys source your ingredients and products? I think that's a pretty big topic. A lot of dietitians definitely look into the quality of the products. Where is the product coming from? Where you guys, getting the ingredients from? So any background information on that? Like, if a dietitian wants to utilize your products, or maybe it's just a coach that maybe doesn't have a dietitian at multiple different levels, because I know everyone doesn't have a dietitian. So where do you kind of derive your guys' ingredients from?
Yes, we work with suppliers, and we initially work with suppliers, directly, whether it's straight from the farm. I'm talking bars right now, right? Straight from the farm for the oats, or our gluten-free oats, and then peanut butter, and you meet them, see the operation. You obviously there's spec sheets that obviously you have to see any certifications, whether it's everything's obviously we're certified gluten-free, so you gotta see all the specs and certifications, of course, to verify everything. And then you go, and with dietitians, we go and for a good example, totally open the curtains if anybody asks, right, about spec sheets, where the ingredients are from, which suppliers do we use. And we did this fairly recently, I guess it was with Dave Ellis, right, with MLB.
The pioneer.
He's the godfather, man, right?
He's been around the block a time or two.
Yeah. And just you can get on the phone with him the first time I spoke to him was like a Saturday morning. And I was taking my girls to dance, and he just sent me I think it was a text message, and just said, "Hey, can you call me?" And he saw one of our products in MLB Clubhouse. Kind of like, cool, call him, and I mean, you can talk to him for hours, man. Like just a wealth of knowledge, right? And so anyhow, do you want to get us, I know, cleared or green lighted for MLB because obviously they're so strict, right? And so you open up the curtains like, hey, here's our introduction to our manufacturers, here's our process, connecting with them, open up, the book to check out all spec sheets for ingredients, something like that. So yeah, total transparency and nothing to hide at all there. So I mean, and that's the way it's really got to be. I mean, again, is especially with you guys, because you have so much knowledge, and and it comes across. I mean, even with what just came to my head with Pamela down at Mississippi State, right? Pamela Barr, she was looking at Salt Stick, right? Even their the caps and their informed sport. And I was like, cool. She's like, can you send me some? We'd love to try them out. And she's like, she looks at him, she's like, look, dude. She called me, like, why do they put in an amino acid in there? Like, I think it was leucine or something like that. She's like, I can't do it because of the supplement, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, thank you for bringing that up. I'm going back to the Salt Stick folks R&D and say, guys, I mean, there's no reason for it. So even bouncing things off you guys with all of your knowledge just helps us, tighten up everything we're doing and sharpen.
Yeah, because you just see this. I mean, more and more companies are now just hiring a sports dietitian or multiple sports dietitians. Because at the end of the day, like if you have a sports dietitian that can talk to another sports dietitian and be able to speak their language, be able to explain the product, what goes into it, how it's made, how it could possibly help your athletes, like that's a win-win for a company.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, right, a company is going to go into these spaces and they're going to want to promote and say their products, the best possible product on the market. But then the dietitian is going to come in and is like, okay, well, does it do this? Does it meet this? Is it NSF or informed sport? If it's a supplement, obviously on the back of the label. All these different things that most business owners don't think about. But when you have that dietitian in your back pocket that's on your staff, like that's a lot of questions you guys can get answered ahead of time. So then it's just like you're so much more prepared having these conversations going into these different universities and pro teams and possibly obviously military tactical is a big space that is definitely growing rapidly on the Army and Air Force side. So I'm sure it's been huge impact for you guys to have that.
Oh yeah, and like you just with all the different shows we've done over the years and the places we've demoed over the years, right? It's like I've always loved. I mean, CPSD is my favorite event, right? Because you go and it's I always tell people, like, not everybody's welcome, and not everybody can play there. All these products, whether it's sports nutrition or just bars or whatever, supplements that get trendy or whatever out in the world in the mass market. It's like, no, dude, they can't play here. They'll have a lot of questions to answer to that they don't want to answer, right? Because you guys will call them on it, and then that's
you're gonna meet a lot of type A personalities. That's all I can tell you. They're gonna have a lot of questions and have high standards, and if it's not bringing what we need to the table, we're gonna definitely let you know real quickly.
and look, man, you guys are doing the work, right? There's a lot of self-proclaimed nutritionists and dietitians on, of course, social media, right? But you guys are there in the lab with the athletes doing the work. You see everything that's happening, testing, protocol, all that. So it's like, and then I mean, you guys, what you do is golden, man. We appreciate you. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I like one of the things you mentioned earlier, straight from the farm. You guys are obviously a smaller business. And I think, especially nowadays, just more and more of these small businesses or small farms are just having a tough time making it. You're seeing a lot of farms close down, or, these bigger farms are now taking over all the smaller farms.
Yeah.
Especially I was, did something for a couple of days with the Dairy Alliance and when I was in Georgia, and just to hear the farmer talk about like how 40% of the dairy farms had shut down in the last 5 years. And I'm just like, whoa, like you're like, so how are we gonna like provide enough milk or provide enough cheese and provide enough yogurt? And he's like, well, some of the bigger farms are taking them over, but it's just like these mom and pop shops just almost aren't around anymore. So it's like the more that we can support local, like go pick your own food, go get milk and cheese from somewhere local, go get products locally. We are really doing a huge service to these individuals and people that are trying to support us on a multitude of different platforms.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to have just one or two people doing the job and then dictating all the stuff at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the scary part. It's hard, right? I mean, gosh, farming's so hard, right? I mean, but it was it was talking to I remember talking to a friend, um his dad has a big turmeric farm in Hawaii. I was like, what? I was trying to like, wow, man, that's amazing. How fun. He's like, yeah, fun for about 10 minutes. It's like it's hard, right? But it's it's tough. But I mean, it's like but the other side to it is right. You get the smaller the operation, right? The higher the cost of goods, and that's there's that's the part you have to balance with, and so everybody wants to support the idea ethically and everything is support the smaller farm, support the smaller brand, but then when it comes to buying it off the shelf or purchasing it, then you're
A
like,
lot of
whoa,
different story. You're gonna see who your true
like,
friends and partners are at the end of the
yeah,
day.
exactly. It's hard. Yeah, you got to try to find a balance there. But no, I mean, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, tough balance.
Do you guys do any type of research or collaborate with any type of universities for looking at any of your products and how they could benefit athletes from an endurance standpoint, power standpoint, hydration? Do you guys do anything like that currently?
What do you mean what do you mean by the collaboration? Like, do we partner with any for like for research or work as a supplier with them?
Either or.
Oh yeah, we supply, man, over 400 schools, whether it's high schools, university, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and then and many professional teams, NFL, MLB, and NBA as well. Yeah, for sure.
So you're pretty much across everything, high school, college, pro. You're kind of
Yeah,
hitting basically a very vast array of markets from that standpoint.
yeah, our shoes are really have blown up especially in high school as well. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about the choo-choo train, right? It started with the idea first started with if you don't mind if I transition this, but with Jake Blattner at Nebraska. He's like, dude, he's like, do you guys have like a car? They're a great customer. Jake's awesome. And he's like, do you have like a push cart, utility cart, put some branding on it. We'd love to support you guys, get some branding. I was like, oh my God. And so I sat down with Noah McDermott, our head of marketing. And the first thing came out of his mouth, dude, the choo-choo train. And I was like, oh my God. All right, what do we got? How do we build this? How do we design it? And so it took a while, and then that kind of just fell off for a bit. And then it was like a week before Christmas, and Michigan football is a great customer as well. And McKenna Dalton and Abigail reached out like the week before. She's like, hey, Jason, do you have one of those choo-choo trains you mentioned? We could use it out here for the Rose Bowl. And I was like, she's like, we'll put it on the sidelines. I was like, oh my God.
You're like, let's go.
Let's go. Okay, we got to get this thing designed. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't have any ideas. Kind of working from scratch. Get the cart, which is a nice quality cart with off-road wheels on it. And then I tapped into my neighbor, Pat Sherman. He's like, he's a carpenter because I'm not. And he's like, let's go. Let's design this. So Milo did the graphic designs, and then we figured it out. And like also, Christmas night, I was trying to finish this thing up, and we're grinding the wheel wells out and everything like that, because we had to have it to them to deliver to their hotel in LA on the 27th when they got to town. So we did, man. We pulled it through and delivered the choo-choo train, and that was the start of it. Now we've got it's a mobile fuel station. It's so much fun. Like, choo-choo is chew, CHEW, the pun on it. With Nebraska, Jake, and then Georgia football, LSU, and Purdue, and so and many more requests. So I think I'm gonna have to give up my day job and just stay in the
And just
workshop and
made
just
two
keep
shoe
bumping
cards.
these things out. But it's so cool, man. It's like all the eyeballs that get on that, and they're so much fun. It's a good quality cart, but it's like it was awesome. Such a cool opportunity that we couldn't pass up. It just makes
Yeah,
it
especially
makes
we
people
talked
laugh.
about this before we jumped on. I mean, the amount of product that has to be moved around a hotel, a field, inside the locker room, like
Yeah,
the more efficient you can make that process with not having to drag stuff around and you've
yeah,
got multiple people to help you, or in this case, a car or something that just makes you mobile, like it is a game changer and improves your efficiency exponentially.
totally. Yeah, yeah. But that was a fun one, and it's just worked out. It's such a cool, you know, cool opportunity. I mean, opportunity to get just more eyes on the brand, but then to be able to give, build one of these things and for it's just a great tool that all you guys need um to help your job, help you guys out moving things around. And it's a bit of fun behind
So,
it too.
so when you're talking to dietitians or maybe, coaches, stuff like that, what are maybe some tips and recommendations? Like, how would you like advise somebody to use your products, or like when or around their training would be the best time to use some of your products? Like, it doesn't matter. It could be a pre, intra, and post, or what
Yeah.
are maybe some like quick, easy guidelines? Because a lot of times, right, we know what something does, or dietitians can explain to the athlete what the nutrients are, but I think
Mhm.
the biggest barrier that a lot of us have is application. Like, how do we apply this? Where do we apply this? When is it going to be the best? Is a lot of common questions we typically get.
Yeah. So I mean, with for the bonk side, right? The bonk breaker, it's pretty straightforward. I think with it's pretty simple. Um, the real food ingredients side. So bars, and we'll just we have a plant-based protein bars, which are is a good amount. It's like a 3-to-1 carbohydrate to protein ratio. So obviously that can be used as fuel, as carbohydrates, but also you need carbohydrates to recover as well, but with a little bit of extra protein. It's not a 20-gram protein bar because that just wouldn't taste good, and we couldn't do that. So we kept it where it tastes good, but you get a little bit of a bump in protein. But so that's a before, before, during, or after, right? Whatever fits in. But for a choose, and you guys know how that works, right? It's a during, maybe before, but mainly during activity, right? Or training. And then for that, it's just gotta, what differentiates it, right? Again, they don't jam up in your teeth. Man, they taste great. We have like this combo, right? Like our OMG is our newest one. It's a medley. And our Rainbow Blast is like a Skittles blend, right? It's a medley. Um, and and so those are different. They're interesting. They're fun flavors. And the athletes say they want to grab them, especially college athletes. Like, man, that's killer. They want to grab them, and they know what to do with it, right? So you're not having to like say here's a couple with your supplement, with your vitamins, and I'm gonna watch you drink. I'm gonna watch you wash that down, right? And it's like, oh man, okay. But no, they're going. They know when to grab them. They'll probably take more back to the dorm room or whatever, but they know how to. It's sort of on the go fuel as well. So that's pretty straightforward there, and of course it's got to taste good. But so if that answers your question there, that's pretty much basically with what we have to do is just send samples. Please just try them out. Try them out with your staff, and then with your athletes, just leave them out. Let us know what you think. Here, love to work with you guys, kind of thing. And that works 9 times out of 10. And then yeah, for salt stick, there's more education involved in it because it is again it's a supplement, right? The fast chews those are sort of a first of its kind. Most people would think because of Noon, right? It's a tablet. Oh, do I drop it in water? And
Yeah, they're thinking like, oh, is this a new tablet or something?
yeah, is it never tab or no? So it's a chewable. So it's just talking through that, process, and then once you kind of get the idea, it's pretty straightforward as well, you know.
Yeah, I think
And
the
I think
big thing is putting them in the environment and getting the guys and gals to try them, and then
Mhm.
seeing like what response they get from them. and trying to associate that, right? Like, hey, when you had those chews, how did you feel during practice? Were you less
Yep.
tired at the beginning? Did you feel like you were exhausted at all during the practice? Did it get you all
Yep.
the way through practice? Did you
Yep.
make more shots? Did you catch the ball? Like, when you kind of pin like, hey, I made this intervention, I added these different products, it caused a positive feeling or a positive result, right?
Yep.
Like that's your hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
All of a sudden, yeah, when I take these, every time I take these, I go out to practice and I feel fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Keep doing
Boom,
it.
boom. Keep doing
Because
it.
if you're playing good, you're practicing good, it's allowing you also to stay available on the court, the field, whatever playing environment that you're on. I mean, that's the coach's dream at the end of the day. The more we can keep the player available and fueled and
Yeah.
feeling good and performing good, everyone is going to be happy, hopefully all the way around, and hopefully everyone's goal is that leads to more W's.
Oh, no, totally, totally, Sean. One second, let me just make sure the pups here is still here. Bear with me. Yep, good. All right. I got 11-week-old, another 11-week-old little Aussie Shepherd, and he just walked out. I just want to make sure he's not running off. But no, and with it is. I mean, what it comes down to, right, is in the day, I mean, and your performance again, talking about bonking, right, and then your mood is blood sugar levels, right? So just keeping those. And a good friend of mine his name's Andy Walsh, and he's brilliant, man. He started built out the Red Bull Human Performance Center, right? And now he works with all these special ops guys and stuff like that. And he's constantly like through training, pricking fingers and getting lactic acid levels and this and that. And it's like at the end of the day, the basis of it all, I mean, it gets obviously, as you know, gets so much more complicated, but my brain doesn't work that way. But it's like blood sugar levels, just keeping your blood sugar levels up, especially during performance and training that's got to be
Sustained,
more than half the battle,
not
right? And
this
so, yeah,
dive bomb.
right. And so that changes your mood, the motivation, the way you feel. Man, look, it's like you feel good, you play good. If you feel good, even the shit that's really hard to do is more enjoyable if you feel good. And even stuff that shouldn't be that bad, if you don't feel good doing it, it's going to be really awful. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's the way I can understand it and look at it. So,
My favorite little graph that I'll draw I've done it forever, but it just works so good. I'll just draw like, like an actual graph with an axis, like an L line, and then I'll just draw this like roller coaster
mhm,
looking line.
yeah,
And I'm like, is this what you feel like? Yeah, there's just periods during my meals or like turns on the days where I'm just like exhausted and tired.
yeah,
I'm like, we need to cut that time in half because you're going 4 to 8 hours without any food, or you're going into a game, you didn't eat anything to last 4 to 5 hours, or you get anxious and you get nervous, and we need something that's going to be not causing any type of GI disruptions or any type of issues there. So it's like we can get them to visually see that and then implement it, and then they get
yep,
that result that they want. It is such a game changer to then, yeah, I have consistent energy all the time. So now that arrow is just straight and consistent. And when I know it is going to start to drop, I'm intervening with something to pick it back up so I can keep back and keep it consistent.
yep,
Because again, you, me, athletes, all of us do all sorts of stuff during the day. We train, they could be doing academics, they could be doing practice, it could be a game, it could be a weightlifting session, right? So the fueling just never stops. But until you can visually show them why we need to have these things at certain times, they're just never going to know, or sometimes they just can't put, A and B together. And
yep.
you got to be that person to be able to just put that in front of their face and show them why that's happening.
Man, and that's you guys are godsend because when I was in college, we didn't have that, right? I remember
It
we
was
had
just you're just probably looking at a magazine or looking at random something online and like hoping it works.
nothing. It's just like, yeah, I mean, and just being exposed to all the nutrition back then, the Promax bars, and it's just all the stuff now, like the low sugar or made in a laboratory, right? And that was the tagline, and I think it was metrics or something, engineered by science, or it's like, well, how much of that does my body actually know what the hell to do with and digest? So that was always, but it's like we're just given that. It's like, dude, I feel like you eat one and feel like, why does my stomach feel so heavy? It's like, yeah, because blood's all that blood's there trying to figure out what the hell it can and can't use. So that was my first like eye opener. Like, man, but no, you guys being there and helping guide and helping kids visualize that and putting it all in perspective. Gosh, man, what an advantage, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the CPSD and a couple other different sports organizations for nutrition have definitely put out some materials throughout the years. Just so I mean, the growth of nutrition has skyrocketed. I mean, quadrupled over the last few years. I mean, when I came into the field, man, back in 2015, 16, which is really not that long ago. I mean, that was even a challenge to find graduate assistant positions and fellow positions. It's like now you see the CPSDA board and Indeed and all these other job boards. It's just like there's jobs all the time out,
Yeah,
or like there's like a bajillion fellowships that you could apply for now. I'm like, I was hoping and praying one came out or two came out to apply for, and got lucky that I could apply for or knew somebody that could help me,
yeah,
get an opportunity to just be able to do it.
yeah. Well, yeah, and it's like it's so cool to see how much everybody moves around and climbs up quickly, right? I mean, I feel like good example, like with Katie O'Connor, just and Michelle that worked on the Matt Frakes, right? They're
Yep.
with him, and all of a sudden both of them just get director jobs or assistant director jobs with UConn and Kansas. And it's like, man, it's so cool. All this stuff, these opportunities are opening up. You learn under like one of the top, dietitians out there as a mentor, and then bam, you just springboard into your own. It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah,
Love
take
it.
advantage of every opportunity, every mentor
Mhm.
that you have. You can learn something from everybody, and not only the dietitian. I think this is the biggest thing that we've, definitely seen a little bit more throughout the years, and more collaboration is happening. And kind of the roots to this podcast is learn from everybody else in that performance center. Athletic trainer, the doctor, the sports psychologist, the sports scientist, the strength and conditioning coach. Like the more you can understand what those other people do and collaborate with them, right? It's going to make it so much easier when you go into the next job and the next opportunity you have, because you're able to communicate and have those
Right.
conversations, right? You
Well, yeah,
can't do it in a silo.
right. And what you guys are doing too as dietitians is like for just for recovery, right? And if someone's injured, food is medicine, and that'll help. Whatever helps heal the healing process helps. You guys work with the athletic trainers to help, expedite in recovery. And I mean, it's all intertwined, right?
My biggest selling point I would always do with my athletes, I gotta have a new athlete come through, and I'd get out the whiteboard and I'm like, hey, how many hours do you sleep a night? How many hours do you spend eating a day? Should you hydrate all day or parts of the day? How many hours are in a day? 24 hours, right? You do that enough times, 40 to 60% of your day is those three things,
Yeah.
right?
Huh.
And if you don't do those at an even decent level, right, it's going to directly impact everything else that you do.
Mm,
Your mood, your appetite, risk for injury, risk for sickness, disease states, how well you train. Everything is affected by nutrition in some way or how. So it's
yeah.
like if you can invest in the dietitian to help you, that is gonna, pay you 20-fold in the future. And I look at it too, I go, it's not only helping you, like it's helping your family, it's helping your future kids. Like these are skills that you're gonna have to do your literal entire life that are never gonna stop. So you either get really good at them right now, or you're probably going to struggle when you get older with something down the road.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. And then at least you're aware of it, right? And how important it is when you hit certain ages, right? And you hit 30, things change, right? And you hit 40 and things change, and you got to adjust again, adjust. But at least you're aware of it, of what, those
Yeah.
things that are changing. So
One final thing I want to ask to wrap it
yeah.
up, and I always find this is an interesting thing to ask business owners, but you got a family, you got
Mm,
your dogs,
hmm
owning a company. How do you balance a business, but then also being available and there for your family? I
Yeah.
always find, I'm sure that's a huge challenge, because like the business is what's bringing in the money and allow you to have the lifestyle and allow to have the great things that you have. But it's like, where does that kind of fine line kind of come to build a balance of everything?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is like, oh, you, you're a business owner, you have a lot of money, and you're like, entrepreneur, you don't have money. Like, not true. everybody else needs to get paid first, and then if there's anything left over, you know, that's what you can take, just what you need to get by, right? I mean, then it's hard. I mean, and you go through, the reason you start something is for usually the passion of the product, right?
Mm-hmm.
And passion about the industry, the lifestyle, and then as you get into it, there's just all sorts of other things which you never thought you would ever have to deal with, and you hope you'd never have to deal with, and stuff you wouldn't even think of, and then and so that becomes part of it too, which is, you know, we went through a really nasty, you know, 3-year situation, and it was legal stuff, and I'll spare the time and the story to get into it, but it's like it almost buried us, right? Almost buried the company. 3 young kids, and at the time my middle daughter was 6. I was like, my wife was like, I don't even know, like, I don't know how we're gonna get groceries next week, right? And it was partly in the pandemic-ish, that area. I mean, some other things went on internally, but I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, right? I don't know what we're gonna do. We were renting a house, and it's like we couldn't even get a U-Haul truck to move if we had to, right? I don't know what we're going to do. And my middle daughter, I was about to take them off to school, and she goes running, she has a backpack on, comes running in from her room. Here, Dad, here, take all my money. Here's her piggy bank. Take my money. Wow. For the company, right? And I was like, oh, my older daughter did it. And then my son, who was like 4 at the time,
just broke your heart.
Like, dude, I just collapsed to my knees in tears. And it was like, okay, I am not giving up. I will fight. I will fight. I will fight. I will not. This is not going to bury us, right? So, you know, they've always been involved. You know, we do demos and stuff, and at events, and they're there, you know, handing stuff out and cutting stuff out, just being part of the. And of course, my wife is so involved, right? And it's like, it's that sort of balance it. Yeah, you have to kind of work your kids into it as well, and now, you know, they're getting to feel it with, you know, with the nutrition side, because they're competitive dancers, and then some in his sports, or, you know, but he plays around with the season, and just to be able to teach them nutritionally, right, what works. But it's hard, man. There's no people, you know, some people want to answer like,
there's no perfect recipe.
How to do business. I'm just like, oh, I want to start a business. I was like, okay. I'm always open. I love to talk to people who want to start something, just because and not to be, and never do I throw any negative stuff out there to try to derail them from doing it, but I try to help them and save time, because of all the mistakes I've made, you know, and which were plenty of them. And then, but it's just, it's a, you know, with all that said though, it's a beautiful thing, right? And if you can find something you're passionate about and really believe in, you battle, and that's the fulfillment in it all the time, right? And just, you know, doing something you really believe in. And at the end of the day, that's the currency we're chasing, right? It's not, I realized that fairly recently, it's like, it's not money is the wrong currency, right? It's this thing, right? Mm-hmm. No, it's this thing people are chasing, but it's the fulfillment. You're earning it, right? Earning it, putting your heart and soul into something, earning it. That's where, man, that's where the good stuff comes from, right there. Those are the dopamine hits that we're all looking for.
It's those little texts that you get like a year later, because you're like, oh, I love this product and it helped me do this, or like, hey, I really appreciate, you know, it's those little like micro dosing of comments and appreciation and things that you get over time. Just know, like, yeah, I'm really struggling right now, or like, it's been a huge challenge, but I'm getting enough feedback and support to know, like, I need to continue to keep doing this, because people are relying or counting on this product, and they benefited from so much that it's helping so many people. So, like, you know, just kind of continue to keep giving you that motivation to keep pushing forward.
Totally. Yeah. And absolutely. And it can be lonely, right? Because there's not a lot of people, right, that can relate to those problems that you have to mask them. You have to take a lot of problems, a lot of people's problems, other people's problems, right? And there's this, like, you know, entrepreneurs out there you have friends. One of my greatest friends, you may know him, Rich Smith, from Fluid, the company Fluid Hydration
Yep.
Company.
Yep.
He's the best, man. And we always, if it's not every week, it's every other week. We just go on the phone, just whatever it is, it can be 15 minutes just to kind of chat and whatever's coming up. It's just good knowing you have those others there that know that feeling of what you go through, what you're going through, what has come up, or celebrate your victories, right? Just it's cool.
Or they just get the area that you're in. Like they just get
yeah,
you. They get you. They get it. They get that you're working with these different types of organizations and people, and it's like you can just call them up anytime and have those conversations because they just
yeah,
understand. Versus,
yep,
and I guess any entrepreneur can essentially help another entrepreneur, but when you're working in the same environments, like you all typically deal with the same struggles, and it's
yeah, totally.
hey, I don't know how to get through this obstacle. Like how have you done it, or have you talked to anybody else that I could talk to get me through this? And if so, could you give me their number and let's try to figure this out.
Totally, 100%, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long road to do it alone. Just be, friends with all competitors as well. It's like we're all in it, man. All in it together. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Very hard. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, this was a fantastic hour that we had here.
Dude,
Really
yeah,
appreciate all your information and background on the company and kind of where you came from. I think anyone always really enjoys listening to the person behind the actual brand, and that's what I'm trying to do a little bit more this year, so just more people can understand the companies that a lot of our dietitians work with, and just have a lot more appreciation for the people that we're buying from and using their products, and how that's essentially giving back to help our athletes. Um, how can people follow or contact you, or what's the best way to do that?
yeah. So Bonk Breaker is our shit. I think that's our Instagram handle for Instagram, but it's bonk_breaker on Instagram, right? And so yeah, please follow us. Do some fun stuff. Noah McDermott, so he runs our social media. He's awesome, man. So creative and fun. Yeah, I mean, you can put up my email if you want to contact me. Cell phone, email. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll put that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to contact Jason, we'll be able to put that down there, the website, anything like that. Also, we'll be sharing this on all the social media platforms and our podcast platforms. So if you need to get a hold of them, you want to try some products, you want to get involved, he'll be able to do that for you. No problem.
Would love to. Yeah. I appreciate that, Sean. That was a lot of fun. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in May.